mean, imagine what you can do if you can interface directly with ChatGPT. I know it sounds scary to a lot of people, but imagine how powerful it is now. How powerful would it be if you can directly interact with it?
It's going to be, it's going to be insane. We're going to start spawning agents. If you're spawning them with your mind, you're going to be able to spawn a team, and they're going to start communicating with each other. I mean, we're already doing that now. There's so many different technologies, like Microsoft has AutoGen and AutoGen Studio.
I am talking to Randy Blasik. Randy is the CTO and co-founder at ComplianceAide. So Randy, I've been so excited to talk to you, and I'm so excited to get your story out there. You are what I've learned that the Twitterverse, or I guess now you call it the Xverse, calls an AI bro, right?
Oh, thanks, Josh, man. Thanks for having me. Yep, I guess I'm a self-proclaimed AI bro.
Yeah, okay, so for those who don't know, what is an AI bro, and how do we get ourselves wrapped up in this whole, thing?
Dude, good question. Okay, I'm a helpful guy. I've been in the industry for so long. I've been like a computer hacker since like 13 years old, and I'm 40. So I just try to help people. I built this generative AI based company. I actually use generative AI to build a company. I'm probably one of the first to do it. I'm building this Gen AI based company, which is like a super hard task to do. I'm out there on Twitter just trying to help people out. I'm always recommending Gen AI solutions. It's Gen AI this, Gen AI that, and people just sometimes get at me. So they're like, oh, okay, they call me AI bro. They're like, okay, AI bro. That's how I got the name. So I'm gonna stick proudly to it.
What is the lead up to where you are today in terms of what you're doing with generative AI? How does a hacker go from, your background into the world of generative AI?
Okay, good question. I started young. I wanted to be a programmer at first. Back in 1994, there wasn't a lot of formal education, so I actually forced myself to hack so that I could steal software that would help me learn to be a programmer. And just in doing that, I just uncovered a lot of different technologies along the way. I stumbled back then on some really early AI stuff in GPUs. I dabbled with, from a hacking perspective, stealing audio. At one point, I think I had every song in North America in like 1994, spread across a couple hundred AOL email boxes.
And the statute of limitations has expired on on that.
Allegedly, I allegedly may or may be right. So
yeah.
So like,
oh come on, you're in good company.
Okay. So I was doing those things, and I just stumbled across all these technologies, and I just kept with it, man. Like I followed like a lot of the GPU stuff with AI was like really honestly like they were doing some stuff really early on, and then I kind of just lost touch with it. I got into I worked for like a Fortune 500 company there for a little while, and I actually didn't like do a job. And then I always kept up with hacking, offensive hacking, defensive hacking. I was global cybersecurity compliance was like a cool thing for me. I'm such a nerd. Like I like seeing the compliance side on the global side, and then from like the offensive hacking side, I like kind of going back and forth. And then in comes generative AI, right? And so like obviously what I just said is like probably a lot. People are probably barfing in their mouths. They're probably like, what is this guy? He's like a freak, right? And so like this generative AI stuff kind of helped me when it came out, like, gosh, this is before ChatGPT. I was starting to see I could really automate a lot of things with it. Like, and I could, my little hacker brain, my offensive hacker brain, I could automate some cool things. And then on the defensive side, I could automate some things. And then the generative AI stuff just made me do it a lot faster, and a lot more accurate. And that's kind of what made me really go right all into it, I guess. I don't know if that helps or not.
Yeah, thank you. This ties into the hook that really made me interested in your story, which was, and this is not about the product necessarily, but you can't really separate the product from the co-founder, from the creator. And in this case, the creator is not, from what I understand, 100% human. The creator of this company is, you said, 75% AI. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah. One of the cool things about me being a hacker and automating things and using this generative AI stuff, I was like, you know what? You know, I want to use generative AI to sort of be my fingers, right? I was like really forward looking with this company, and I wanted to look really far in the future, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and I was like, how are companies in the future gonna be built? And I
Mhm.
think like, there's people out there like, Sam Altman, for example, he's famously said, they think they're going to be like a one-person billion-dollar company in the next 12 to 24 months, right? And that's because one person's going to figure out how to build a team of AI-based agents that are they're basically working on behalf of that human. Back like in, gosh, maybe November of 2023, when I really started building the ComplianceAide, I took that concept to heart and I started building AI agents to write code for me, to build my business strategy, to write, me support documents on how to set stuff up, how to recommend technologies. I basically use generative AI agents to be my company essentially. And so it wound up being that, 75% of the company, code, tech stack, strategy, images, some of the support videos and marketing material, all that stuff is all basically generative AI recommended or built.
Did you feel a specific call to do this? Did you feel
Yeah.
like you were the only person on the planet
Oh my God.
who
Yeah,
needed to
man.
do this?
Yeah. Strangely, I felt like, yes.
Yeah, if it wasn't you, it wouldn't be anybody. And I've heard that
Yeah.
from so
I
many
do
of my
feel alone.
friends who are co-founders and technologists. And I think Mark Cuban also famously said, if not me, then who? So what was
Yeah.
that call like? What was that moment when you said, I have to do this. I've got no choice. This is something that needs to happen.
Um, I was answering the request for proposal on some bank across the globe. It was a long RFP, and I was like, I knew ChatGPT 3.5 had just come out, like just like that day, I think, and I was like, it was like that afternoon, and I was like so interested in it already. I was so drawn to it already. I started using it to answer some of those SOC requirements, and like it really knew the requirements and it was doing almost as good of a job as me. And it was like towards the end of the day, so I was already tired. So it was doing such a good job, and I was like, oh my god, it all snapped. And I'm like, we can do this for compliance. And like GPT 3.5 can do the mapping requirements. And I was like, this is kind of a big deal because everybody knows nobody really wants to do all this compliance stuff. And I was just like, oh my god, this is what everybody needs. And so right in that moment, I was like, we need to do this. This is when I need to like leave my job and get right into the building the ComplianceAide.
What were some of the other barriers that made you maybe second guess doing this? And what are some of the things that you had to give up in
Oh
order
my
to
gosh.
pursue this journey?
Okay, so it's not an easy journey. Like you really genuinely have to commit 100% to it. Like every minute of the day, you have to commit to building, a company, to really be successful at it. So I had to give up like, I'm working 7 days a week, vacations, holidays. I thankfully you have to have a good relationship with your spouse. I think you have to think about your kids, where they are in their life. You have to take on a lot of roles, job roles, and thankfully I had done those roles, previously in previous careers, and my family really supported me really well throughout the process. So they were super supportive. But it's a long journey for sure.
Scary.
Yeah,
It's
but
it's got to be
but dude,
terrifying.
having Gen AI to like use as a significant resource strangely gave me an overwhelming sense of confidence, and that's a strange thing to say out loud, but that's like the truth.
It's powerful. I mean, I've heard Elon Musk say that, and I don't think that he's trying to be cute either. I think he's absolutely correct that we are in some way, shape, or form, depending on how you define it. But I think this is true. We are cyborgs. When we use technology, we interact with technology in a way that it extends, is an extension of ourselves. It grants us powers that we didn't have before. I mean, the phone, the computer, they've really extended the capabilities of the human individual. And so AI is another iteration of that and an evolution of it. And so back to what Elon Musk had said, the only issue that we have to solve in becoming true cyborgs is the interface and the latency issue. Right now, there's very high latency because we're using the thumbs. And, the more you reduce that latency, and that's his whole pitch for Neuralink, the more you can interact with the technologies and exponentially increase your powers. And so what we're seeing and what you're doing is just the beginning of that. I mean, imagine what you can do if you can interface directly with ChatGPT. I know it sounds scary to a lot of people, but imagine how powerful it is now. How powerful would it be if you can directly interact with it?
It's going to be, it's going to be insane. We're going to start spawning agents. If you're spawning them with your mind, you're going to be able to spawn a team, and they're going to start communicating with each other. I mean, we're already doing that now. I mean, look, there's so many different technologies. Like Microsoft has AutoGen and AutoGen Studio for building a team of AI agents. I mean, connect that to Neuralink or Microsoft, like a service like Azure or AWS, a cloud-based service that already has, deployable architecture infrastructure, via script. These little AI agents, because those manuals have been online now for 10 years, they already understand how to do all that stuff. So it's interesting how close we are to really doing some really interesting things and building some really interesting companies.
It's crazy to think about. It's absolutely nuts. And, you would think that this is all science fiction, but the truth is you're doing it, and others are doing it, and it's changing the world, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, yes. Yeah. I mean, I was down in San Francisco about maybe a month ago now for a multimodal hackathon, down in the Cloudflare headquarters. And some of the technologies that these brilliant people built were like mind blowing. I mean, they were doing like, they were using multimodal AI to generate 3D images in Apple Vision Pro. They were one of them. Our little project was to use generative AI to redact personal identifiable information on meetings like this to sort of reduce your liability in saving sensitive information. But I mean, there were like 26 other amazing companies or amazing ideas that these people just built in an afternoon, and every single one of them were using generative AI to build their suite of technologies. It was just incredible.
I know that you've kind of come across some folks who don't get AI. They don't really understand it. And so can you explain a little bit of your experience with that, and why do you think that some people don't get it and some people get it intuitively?
Good question. So they're mean, like definitely on X. They're like really mean. They're mean. I don't know why. I wish they weren't.
Do you think some people are just against it philosophically, and they think that this is gonna doom humanity, and maybe that's a resistance to it? Or do you think some people are just built to embrace technology, and maybe others don't get it and they're just jealous?
I don't know. I don't know, man. I hope not jealous, because like honestly, anybody can use it. I mean, it's like a natural language, right? You just kind of have to just open your heart to it, right? And just take like an hour out of your day, just like, kind of by yourself. You don't have to do it like a group of people, but like open your heart to it and like really try to use it and try to get something meaningful out of it. And it's like the people that I see like that are mean, it seems to me that are mean to me, or just in general against AI, they seem to like haven't given it a real chance. Like they were like looking almost immediately to get like all of their problems solved. Like this AI bro basically is sitting here telling you that it solved all its problems. It built 75% of its company. But I'll tell you guys, like I didn't do that in like an hour.
Yeah.
I was like, it was like hundreds of hours working with AI and kind of learning about it learning about me, and then just being patient with the technology, and just approaching it kind of with like an open heart and open mind, I guess.
That's a spooky thing you just said. You said, I'm learning about it, and it is learning about me.
Okay,
That
yeah,
is
that's
the
like the real
fundamental
deal.
relationship between us and AI. And the more you can understand that concept, I feel like the world opens up to you, and there's more that you can do. And there's probably somebody listening to this right now I guarantee it. Someone is listening to this right now thinking, why didn't I think, I had the idea to spin up a company, the idea of machines making machines, or using AI to spin up a company, or AI to do X, Y, Z. But you know what? I'm going to leave that up to somebody else. Or, that's not something that I can do. Or maybe that's something that's too big of a task or whatever. But I believe that for those who embrace AI and let it understand you and you try to understand it, it somehow rewards you with a sort of power. Is that
I'm
is that
afraid.
crazy to say?
Yeah, man, because of all the negativity that's been cast upon me. But yeah, man, I think it really does.
What are they saying to you? What are these?
They just
What
don't
can these
believe it,
people
man.
possibly say?
They don't believe it. They just don't believe that they don't like a revolutionary new discovery to humanity.
And you classify it as a new discovery. That's important. It is really a new discovery. And for those who are, the proof is in the pudding. You've done it. So let's pivot over a little bit to ComplianceAide.
Sure.
And again, you can't separate the product from the creator, right? So what are some of the challenges of bringing a product like that? So describe what ComplianceAide is in maybe 30 seconds or so. And what are some of the challenges of bringing a product like that to market?
So we're trying to mimic cybersecurity auditors for small businesses. Cybersecurity compliance is something that we're seeing globally. We're seeing a lot of people get new compliance regulations. We're seeing a lot of businesses that are out there, that didn't have to follow regulatory requirements now have to follow it. And there's service providers that are out there. That don't have the right amount of staff to actually help these little businesses adhere to this stuff. So I'm like, using my little hacker nerdy self, I'm like, this is a perfect gap to fill with generative AI. So that's basically the premise of the ComplianceAide. We're just mimicking cybersecurity compliance auditors for small businesses, and we're trying to do that through service providers, because those people are the ones who have been asked by their clients to, for this task, and they're right now, and some of them are having trouble doing this stuff. And I think generative AI would help these businesses. And just like me, right? If you look into the future, businesses are going to have teams of AI agents that are, they're helping them. And, because I did it for my business, I'm now ready to help service providers implement it in theirs. So that's sort of what we're doing. And then what are the challenges to bringing that to market? Gosh, early on, people were like, obviously, like, wondering what generative AI was. They talked to me about hallucinating a lot. They were always asking about, how often does it hallucinate? And quite frankly, like, I didn't see any of the hallucination issues that people were saying, even during GPT 3.5.
Yeah, number one,
So,
someone heard the word hallucination and they wanted to sound smart, so they used it. There, I said it.
thank you for saying that, because it's like over and over again. I'm like, guys, like, I haven't had this issue like since like friggin' November of last year. Like, and it was my problem. Like, I fingered a prompt, and it was the reason why I was hallucinating, because it was doing what I was telling it to do, which is spell it incorrectly because I spelled it wrong.
Right. So I think that the hallucinations are more of a problem when it comes to numbers. If you ask it for certain kinds of data and you ask it the same thing over and over, it may give you some weird stuff. But when it comes to everything else, the hallucination rate is very, very low. Yeah. And
Yep.
especially you're working in the world of policy. So it's words. And so the hallucination rate for something like that is extremely low. It's not like it's trying to solve math problems necessarily.
Yeah. So, so there's that. And then, that was the biggest challenge, is just people building trust with AI to bring it to market.
Perception.
Like, yeah, perception. Definitely, people are definitely worried that it's going to take their jobs at first. But then, like, the team that I'm working with now, this awesome, I can't really say their name. There's like a really cool North American-based compliance firm that does like healthcare for like some big hospitals. They're like, and they're so overwhelmed. They have like so much business. And I just like this morning, I just finished like, doing this crazy high trust assessment for them. And this thing takes like 6 weeks for them to do. And I did it in like 24 hours with our AI team. And their relief is like, oh my God. And they helped me build the prompts for it, for the last few months. And so they're like reading the responses and they're like, this is so cool. You know, they're so excited. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I can't believe there are people coming at you for this. People who are, and the AI bro thing is supposed to be, I guess it's meant to be derogatory, but you know what? I own it. You own it. We're AI bros, whatever you want to call it. That's fine.
Cool, man.
We are the future, and the future is AI. Okay, so
Okay.
let's close with this. What do you want your legacy to be? Do you want it to be AI and ComplianceAide, or is there some larger mission that you're on that you want to be remembered for?
Man, okay. Look, I'm probably like one of the first out there, like in the world to like, basically use AI like for like a majority part of my life. Like it planned vacations for me. It's helped me with, some personal advice and definitely very professional advice. And I think it's done really, really well for me so far. So like I just want to help people like moving forward. Like so like if there's anybody out there like business owner, CTO, CTO, entry level person, young person, like if there's anybody out there that sees this and you're like you're feeling like you're an eye, like I kind of felt, about this AI thing, like reach out to me, and I'm happy to help you with any advice. But that would be like my legacy, more so than like the compliance data. I guess I just want to help people kind of like, get over this little learning curve with generative AI, and let's see what kind of exciting possibilities all of us can do moving forward.
Excellent. Andy, this was an absolute pleasure. I'm sure you're going to be back, and I'm sure the story will evolve over time. And anybody who wants to get a hold of Randy, he is very accessible. Like he's just said, if you need to call him, call him. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you his cell phone number right now. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to do that. What's the best way for people to reach you?
Sure, man. So it's on Twitter at Blasik Randy, pretty easy, or LinkedIn, same deal. And I think I could probably send those to Josh. Maybe he can post that up on the video.
Yeah, so I'll post it up. You guys get a hold of Randy, talk to him for yourself. I mean, if you're interested in learning more about ComplianceAide, you're interested in learning more about generative AI and sort of the applications that will be inevitable in the future and will change the face of the earth, get a hold of us, talk to us. We're happy to have those conversations with you. So you can reach me on LinkedIn. I'm at LinkedIn, and it's at Josh Bruyning, JoshBruyning, or you can send me an email, josh@bruyning.com, or if you've got my phone number, call me, let's talk. And if you're interested also in being a guest on the podcast, hit me up. I'm excited to hear your story. I'm sure that your customers, your prospects, your audience, whoever they may be, they are dying to hear your story and to connect with you. So with that, Randy Blasik, thank you so much. And thank you for listening to this episode of Security Market Watch.